What happens when a giant cowgirl steps into your life and asks the one question you've been avoiding? You've never been kissed, the giant cowgirl asked, stepping closer. Witness this unbelievable true-inspired story right here on Whisper of the Past. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. Let's get started. The summer heat in Texas was unforgiving, the kind that made mirages dance on the horizon and turned every breath into an effort. Jake had just turned 23, a quiet ranch hand who kept to himself, more comfortable with horses than people. He'd grown up on his uncle's ranch, a sprawling piece of land where the sky seemed endless and the nearest town was 40 miles away. Jake had always been different. While other boys his age were out chasing girls at county fairs and honky-tonks, he stayed behind, citing work as his excuse. The truth was simpler and more embarrassing: he'd never been kissed. Never held hands with anyone romantic. Never felt that electric connection everyone seemed to talk about so easily. At 23, in a small Texas community where everyone knew everyone's business, this was the kind of secret that felt like a brand he couldn't hide. That's when Sarah May arrived. She pulled up to the ranch in a dusty pickup truck on a Wednesday afternoon, her arrival announced by the crunch of gravel and the distant bark of the ranch dogs. Jake was mending a fence post when he first saw her step out of that truck, and he had to do a double take. Sarah May stood at 6 feet 4 inches tall, a towering presence with sun-bronzed skin and arms that showed years of hard ranch work. She wore scuffed cowboy boots, worn jeans, and a plaid shirt with the sleeves rolled up. Her sandy blonde hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and when she removed her sunglasses, her eyes were the color of Texas bluebonnets. She was Jake's uncle's new hire, brought in to help with the cattle drive season. And she was, without question, the most intimidating woman Jake had ever encountered. The first few days were awkward. Sarah May was confident, capable, and had a booming laugh that echoed across the pastures. She could rope a steer faster than any hand on the ranch, ride the most temperamental horses with ease, and seemed completely at home in a world that Jake still sometimes felt like an outsider in, despite growing up there. Jake tried to avoid her, but on a ranch, privacy was a luxury no one could afford. They worked the same fences, herded the same cattle, and took their meals at the same long table in the ranch house. It was during one of those meals that Sarah May first really noticed him. Jake was picking at his food, lost in his own thoughts, when she leaned across the table. "You always this quiet, or is it just around me?" she asked, her voice friendly but direct. Jake felt his face flush. "Just, not much of a talker, I guess." "Nothing wrong with that," she said, leaning back with a smile. "Some of the best people I know are the quiet ones. They're usually thinking deeper than the rest of us are talking." That conversation broke the ice, just a little. Over the following weeks, Jake found himself actually looking forward to working alongside Sarah May. She didn't push him to talk, but when he did, she listened like his words actually mattered. She told stories about growing up in Montana, about her family's ranch and the wild country she'd come from. She had a way of making the ordinary seem extraordinary, turning a story about fixing a tractor into an epic adventure. One evening, after a particularly long day moving cattle, they sat together on the porch of the bunkhouse, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. Sarah May was nursing a beer, her boots propped up on the railing. Jake sat nearby, drinking sweet tea, comfortable in the silence. "Can I ask you something personal, Jake?" Sarah May said suddenly, her voice softer than usual. Jake's stomach tightened. "Sure, I guess." She turned to look at him, really look at him, with those piercing blue eyes. "You got a girl somewhere? Someone waiting for you in town?" "No," Jake said quickly. Too quickly. Sarah May studied him for a moment, then a small smile played at her lips. "Ever had a girl? Ever been in love, even a little bit?" Jake felt like the porch was shrinking, like the whole world was closing in on that one moment. He could lie, he could deflect, but something about Sarah May made him feel like honesty was the only option. "No," he admitted quietly. "Never really had the chance, I guess. Or maybe never made the chance. I don't know." Sarah May didn't laugh or tease. She just nodded slowly, like she understood something profound. She set her beer down and turned to face him fully, and then she stood up. At her full height, with Jake still sitting, she seemed to tower over everything. "You've never been kissed?" she asked, stepping closer. The question hung in the air like the evening heat. Jake couldn't speak, he could only nod, feeling more vulnerable than he ever had in his life. Sarah May moved closer still, until she was standing right in front of him. Then, to his surprise, she knelt down, bringing herself almost to his eye level. Her expression was gentle, no trace of mockery or pity. "Jake," she said softly, "there's no shame in being inexperienced. None at all. The world's gonna try to tell you different, especially out here where everyone thinks they know everything about everyone. But I'm telling you, there's something honest about not rushing into things, about waiting for something real." "I didn't mean to wait," Jake found himself saying. "It just happened. Or didn't happen, I guess." Sarah May reached out and placed her calloused hand on his knee, a gesture that was reassuring rather than romantic. "Here's what I think. I think you're one of the most genuine people I've met in a long time. And I think any woman would be lucky to be your first kiss. If you wanted, if you felt comfortable, I'd be honored to be that person." Jake's heart hammered in his chest. This wasn't how he'd imagined this moment, not in the countless times he'd daydreamed about it. There was no moonlit dance, no romantic dinner, no perfect movie moment. Just the two of them on a dusty porch, honest and real and human. "I'd like that," he whispered. Sarah May smiled, a real smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. She leaned in slowly, giving him every chance to change his mind, to pull away. But Jake didn't. When their lips met, it was gentle and brief and perfect in its imperfection. No fireworks exploded, no music swelled, but something inside Jake shifted. Some wall he'd built came down, just a little. When Sarah May pulled back, she was still smiling. "There," she said, "now you've been kissed. How do you feel?" Jake thought about it, really thought about it. "Different," he said, "but good different." "Good," Sarah May said, standing back up to her full height. "Now, tomorrow we've got 200 head to move to the north pasture, and I'm gonna need your help. Think you can focus?" Jake laughed, actually laughed, and it felt like release. "Yeah, I think I can manage that." As the stars began to appear overhead and the cicadas started their evening song, Jake realized that sometimes the moments that change us aren't the ones we plan. Sometimes they come from unexpected people in unexpected places, and sometimes the most beautiful thing isn't the kiss itself, but the kindness that surrounds it. Sarah May would move on after the season ended, heading to another ranch, another job, another horizon. But Jake would never forget the giant cowgirl who stepped closer when everyone else had kept their distance, who saw him not as incomplete or lacking, but as someone worth knowing, exactly as he was.